Okay guys, now we're going to go into some of our pressing movements. So the first pressing movement is called a strict press. It's probably the simplest of all the pressing movements, but it lays the foundation for everything we go forward with. So number one is standing roughly hip width apart, slightly narrower than we did for the squat. Okay, so slightly hip width, feet fairly straight. What's important when we press is to stack the body. So we don't want to have the hips behind the knee, knees shooting forward, anything like that. As you can see from the side, the body's nice and stacked. Okay, so what I like to do is prepare again before we perform the movement. So we get the bar set up, slightly in front, elbows slightly in front, of the bar. And then I like to exaggerate, so squeeze the glutes, brace the abs, elbows in front. So now I'm prepared, everything's locked in from down here, ready to perform the press. So what we do is we get the head out of the way by pulling it back. We press the bar in a straight line through, head goes back to where it was, and the bar finishes again in that stacked position. So the wrist is over the elbow, shoulder, knee, hip. Okay, so I'll show you one more time. Get the head out of the way, press through. Common mistakes or things to watch out for is one, that bracing, so glutes and core. And two, is finishing with a weak wrist like this at the top. Okay, so we want to make sure we roll the bar into a strong finish position and don't finish with the bar slightly in front. Often this is an area that starts to show up some limitations in the shoulder and or upper back flexibility. If that's the case, guys, the best bet is to use dumbbells rather than the bar, and then we can start to work on those mobility issues later on. So one more time, set up, and back down. Okay, I'll show you with the barbell. Bracing, big breath in. And that's the strict press. Now, as I said before, we start to layer on top of this. So the next movement up in the chain is called a push press. And what we do there is we get to utilize a bit more power from the legs, which aids the shoulder, which means we can push a little bit more weight. So when we dip, what we want you to think about is holding that bar and dipping down with a straight back. Okay, we don't want to see this, the dip hinging forward at the hip like we did on the squat. We want to see the back dead straight. The more flexible you are, the lower you'll be able to get with your back straight. Just see where you're up to with you and your body. Okay, so we're holding this bar up on the front rack position, in contact with the shoulders. Again, not floating. It's really important that bar's in contact. We dip down. When we dip, if you notice, if I face you, I'm creating tension in my lower body. So I'm not dipping like this, knees buckling in, losing my arch. I'm still creating that arch that we did in the squat. Okay, knees out, feet straight. Okay, the purpose of the dip, as I said before, is to drive the bar off. So we dip straight, we drive, the bar starts to propel upwards, and then we're finishing it off with the arms. And again, landing in that stacked position. If we join it together, it's down and up, bracing nice and tight. Then we come back down to that set position, driving up. Okay? So there's the push press. Main factor on that is balancing the foot again, big toe, little toe, heel. So don't shift when you dip into your toes, and utilizing the legs as much as possible. Okay, so the next movement we go to up the chain is called a push jerk. This one, again, we stay on the spot. And again, we're trying to use our timing to get the most amount of weight up over our head as possible in the easiest, most efficient way. So there's a couple of variations. The first one is a push press. Then later on, we'll go into the split jerk. Okay. So for this one, I'm just breaking it down for you. We're dipping with the bar, again straight. We use the legs to propel the bar off. As the bar's propelled off our shoulders, it's going to be here for a split second, and we use that split second to drop our body under, landing here, standing tall. Okay, so it's all about timing for this one. So again, elbows up, dip, stand. There's two options with the feet. To get the most amount of power, you want to jump your feet out. Okay, so I'll show you that one. Then standing up. When you're doing multiple reps, we often stay on the spot. For multiple reps, we tend to have our feet a little bit wider and we just leave them there. So I'll show you a few. Okay, I'll show you side on. Dipping straight, jumping under, okay? So that's your push jerk on the spot, okay? You should be able to get, let's say, roughly about 30% more than that push press we did earlier, just because of that timing under the bar. It does take a little bit of getting used to, and often with a bit of weight, it does help the feel of the movement. Okay, so the last of the pushing motions is called a split jerk. For this one, what I suggest you do first is practice the foot positioning, then we'll add the bar later. So I'll show you here, if you can see on the ground here. I like to get clients to stand on a line, and we jump into a lunge position. What we're looking for is 50% of the movement coming from the front foot and 50% from the back. So if you notice, I started on this middle line. What we don't want to see, maybe that's clearer, is leading everything with that front foot and the back foot not moving anywhere. Or reaching really far with the back foot and the front foot not moving anywhere. We want to see a 50-50 split, both moving together, okay? So it helps to start with a line just as a reference point. The idea of this one, grab the broomstick, is exactly the same as the push jerk we just did before. You've got the bar, you're propelling it, dipping it straight, propelling the bar off your shoulders. The point where it's going to hover for a split second is your opportunity to split under the bar, press it out, and recover. Front foot, back foot, bar comes down last. Okay? So again, these lifts are all about timing and drive from the legs. I'll show you with the bar. So as I said before, spend a bit of time practicing the footwork. What's important is landing in a position where you feel strong and confident. Just keeping in mind these few rules just before I go to that bar. Say we've landed. I want you to look for a front shin, nice and vertical. So we don't want to land like this where the knee's shooting past the ankle. Nice and vertical. We don't want to land like this where the heel is down and the knee can't bend too far. So land on the toe, nice and soft through the knee. If we're looking at the upper body, we want the upper body nice and vertical underneath the hips, again to create that stacking and a strong overhead position. So when we add the bar to that, up on the shoulders, dip straight, front foot comes in first, back foot second, bar comes down last. If you do happen to land off balance, what I suggest you do is correct yourself, push the bar up strong, wait till you find a strong position, then recover. Front foot, back foot, bar comes down last. So that's the split jerk, guys. So just reviewing, we've got split jerk, push press, and the most basic one is the strict press.